Well, welcome to the Reinhardt Wisdom Show. I'm excited today to have a very young entrepreneur on our session today. I met her on when we were both speaking at the Tesla Congress about a couple of years ago, and we've been in touch. And I'm excited about her work. And today we'll be talking a lot about the things that she's doing. We have Julene here today, and just a little bit about her background. So she right now is working on something called actually she created this new disciplinary called musical nutrition, which we'll be talking about today, because I myself am interested to learn more, and that's why we have her here today. She is also someone who has also created a couple of systems. I was online and look at her background. She's the inventor of the tonal spatial music system and also the rhythmic temporal music system, which includes both the Eastern and a Western musical system, which is really exciting. So I'm excited to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, and it's so great to meet people like you that are supporting entrepreneurs that are doing positive business, right? That's why we're here, for positive impact.
Yes, and your work is, impacting. When I first heard about it, you're using music, and then well, today we'll talk more, but from my own understanding is that you customize it so that it supports people in their well-being, right?
That's right.
So that's what excites me, because I think with technology, and I always believe music is a way that heals our body, and our well-being, our soul. What you're doing is cutting edge. So I'm excited about that. So let's jump in. Can you share a little bit about, your company? So I know your research and what you're creating right now is under Nada Brahma, right? So could you share a little bit about it, and what are the technologies that you're working on currently?
Great. So yeah, I mean, it is a startup software company. We're building our first iterations. I'll just tell you a little bit about the research behind it. So the tonal spatial musical system and rhythmic temporal musical system are about the very science of sound and the nature of sound, because I was trained classically. I've also been involved in a number of sort of non-Western musical traditions, tantric music, various other things. And I noticed that nowhere in all my diverse experience in, ethnic traditions, jazz, classical, Indian ragas, nowhere to be found was a definition of sound. And I thought, honestly, if there's anything that's going to be the musical theory of all musical theory, it's one that is built with the understanding on the very nature of sound. So that was my master's degree was in advanced composition and sound manipulation, was where I started looking at Fourier and examining the nature of sound even more. So that is the base technology inside of the platform, is a sound processor and analyzer, as well as generator. We're working on a musical instrument. But when you analyze the very nature of the sound, there are psycho-emotional processes in music, from value, inertia, from different acoustic indicators, right? And these psycho-emotional processes, as well as the user's behavior, so how they're using it, right? Whether it's a long listen, whether it's during a certain activity, like running, these two things together. And so when you analyze the very nature of sound and sort of the mood map, the mood spectrum of that song, the different psycho-emotional processes happening in that song, as well as different biomarker correlations that those relate to. And sometimes they relate minimally, and sometimes they relate very strongly. So what we do is we combine the actual sound analysis with a personalized approach. So personalizing to you, to your personal, cultural, your playlist history, and in the future, your brain, your activity, your cognitive patterns. So it's very personalized, and I think it's musical nutrition is very much about that. It's about, what is going to be most nutritious to you for your individual needs, for looking at your mood spectrum over time. Where do you need a lift? Where do you need support? Where do you really resonate? As well as what are the biomarker and biofeedback implications for your well-being needs, for your body's needs. So it's very much about personalizing, personalizing to you. Every person is different. We have similar group traits, especially, a lot of times the music you listen to relates to your social tribe, right? But at the same time, everyone is so different. And I think that that's the way forward with, definitely with music, is personalized to your mood, your well-being, and being able to unpack that so that it supports your fullest potential. So that's the sort of background behind it.
I know, it's really exciting. I remember when you kind of first explained to me, I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait for this technology. So if you could talk, I know you mentioned about the biomarker, right? And the biofeedback, and each of us is different. What, could you give a little bit more information about what causes that? Is it, our upbringing or what we listen to? Like, I know you mentioned that we have certain traits that's similar, but that's different, right? So if you could just expand on that.
Okay, on the biomarkers, so we work with biomarkers in the voice. This is in fact something that's been going on for a long time. There are different vocal technologies that look at that. So basically, people with type 2 diabetes have similar, if not identical, patterns in their voice, right? Same thing with people with, breast cancer, similar, if not identical, patterns in the voice, right? So and those relate to also emotional traits or processes, the actual illness. So it's working at an informatic level, right? So essentially, disease is bad information. There's a lot coming out now in the new sort of paradigm of information field medicine. So it's working with the informatic level, and then also giving you sort of well-being based activities, right, for emotional support in relation to the illness, or different types of sleep, relaxation, sometimes movement, combining those sounds with a specific type of well-being practice. And yeah, we all are have traits. There are qualities and characteristics of social groups, right? The sort of behavioral traits or traits of taste. But we also are very individual, in the sense that everyone's emotional spectrum is unique to them, and there's different things that help them process their feelings. And we all work in different ways, and we really value that. We really base it on the user preferences, user input, so that it's very much customized to you. So I hope that sort of gives you a little bit more background that, yeah, we all have qualities and traits from different social groups, but at the same time, we have to respect that we're different. And you'll see that in mental health as well. With, I have a friend that works in the NHS in mental health, and with depression, it's the same symptoms, that qualify it as depression, but different people go through it in completely different ways. So yeah, it's just that principle of our beautiful uniqueness.
Do you think it's influenced by our culture, our family, and also, is it also, do you think that also partially it's just how we our biology, like DNA, does that, and ancestral, does all that play a role?
Absolutely, absolutely. I definitely look at health as, a social phenomenon, as well. So, how you were raised, how you were, your personal cultural background is important, because different cultures place an emphasis on different cognitive techniques according to their values. If you have a culture like, I'm half Italian, they're very expressive, and they're very well developed emotional communication, right? Where, you know, some of my friends you know, in South Asia, it's not like that. I'm half Bangladeshi as well, but they have a different set of skills that they develop, right? So everything you do influences your brain, influences your makeup. It is extremely it's complex to map that, right? Which is why we do it on an individual basis. And I think we probably could, you know, correlate data in general in terms of, but absolutely, I think we're all influenced by the way that we are, our personal and cultural background, by our relationships as well, you know, by the quality of the relationships and kinds of relationships. Those also have an effect on us. But we sort of just, that type of sociological aspect is very difficult, very complex and nuanced to sort of map out. So we just focus on personalizing, you know, according to the individual and their needs. But definitely, I would say that your health is, and your who you are is profoundly influenced by your life and the conditions of your life. That's the sort of interconnected web that, you know, we have to all respect.
And so let's walk through a little bit about the process. So let's say I'm coming to you and now, you know, I'm seeking my nutrition via, you know, the
Yeah.
musical nutrition. What would one go through? Like, what's the process? Like, what, you know, do you guide an individual through? So this way, the audience who are listening gets a gist of what, you know, what, how you work with people and what would they get out of this whole process.
Yeah, sure, sure. So we're initially starting with two programs. One is musically managed stress and anxiety, right? So that's more of a mental health support program, which personalizes the type of support you need for getting to the underlying causes of your stress and anxiety and managing it better. And the other one is Resonate. So that just starts with music being personalized to your mood, right? Personalized to you. So you upload all your playlists that you currently listen to, and then so it gets to know about, you know, your background, you know, through that, as well as your user input. And it'll start inputting music according to your mood. And then you can put in sort of your goals, right? Like, what do you want? So so in your cognitive mood map, it'll list all the activities, everything from sleep, you know, concentration, working, walking, chilling, whatever you're doing, right? And it starts personalizing music to the different activities, and then you just start saying, where do you want to improve, where do you want to be better, you know? And so then it will work on those areas. And we have social support as well, something called human vitamins. So the person that is the complement to you, right? The person that has the areas, for example, that you are maybe have like a desert, if that person has a big garden, right? So to complement, so human vitamins in combination with musical nutrition. I think we probably will have more hands-on sort of personalized support. Right now we're just starting with a software, but definitely, you know, a service where we can work one-to-one personalizing music nutrition, that's definitely something that we'll be looking at. But in phase one, we're just building the technology and getting it, yeah, running in that sense. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
so does the technology then create a whole new playlist, or you know, what does it do? Like, what does your technology then in return provides? Yeah.
Yeah, so it will your playlists, obviously, because those are the ones that are meaningful to you, and then it will make suggestions based on your mood and your behavior and how you're using it, as well as in correlation to your voice, what your voice biomarkers are telling us, right? So, and it's very interesting because when you need a sound, it feels good, right? So if we notice that, so besides your music playlist, right? If we notice that you have for some reason a really, big dip in your voice in that area and you need something to balance it out, we'll recommend the songs that have the highest concentration of that. So when you listen to, it's actually the sounds that you need. It's the musical nutrition, and it feels good when you getting what you need. And or areas that we see continuous patterns. If there are songs that have those continuous patterns, you'll like them because they resonate with you. And we'll also sort of, there's a data indicator so that it's similar to the music that you have in terms of artists and sort of culture, right? But so it's a sort of quite complex, set of algorithms and things to recommend sounds to support you and your being. And we also have a musical instrument for people to play with the sounds that are good for them, right? Because in terms of music, listening is a therapeutic, but it's a passive process. And actually, for different types of brain development, you have to actively play and be musicking. So yeah, no, it's interesting. We're just building the first iterations and getting all our user feedback, but it's been great so far. I think this is, I mean, the important thing to me with musical nutrition is the fact that we're unpacking the benefits, right? It's not just about music as a product, that you download or this and that. It's about music as a resource, as a utility for your health, for your well-being. And so the point is also just building a benefit business, because we give an example that it was actually only in the 1990s that the FDA released nutrition labels on food. And before that, there was, really, big leaps being done with, like, saying like eating Kellogg's is associated with cancer, or just not knowing what's in food. My mom, is Italian. She used to eat the white meat on the prosciutto because they didn't know it was fat, right? But this is what's happening with music, is that we don't know what's inside. We don't have the nutritional information on the music to be able to understand, what's inside music. What is the nutrition that you need? And we don't see this, I don't see this as, the services and programs that we come up with only. I mean, in the future, we would like this technology to power, other applications, because this is so important. Because also with the music that we've analyzed, current pop music is only using about 25% of the rhythmic timbral spectrum. So there are literally worlds of sounds and timbres and rhythms that we're not getting, that all have different types of nutritional benefits, but there's nothing to tell us what's inside music. So the point is also to build this musical nutrition, and our programs will be there. We will make our own programs, and we have to, obviously, to test it and build it and things like that. But the point is, to, for me anyway, to turn the music industry into a benefit business, to give the music industry what the FDA gave the food industry, that now we have superfood, right? We have like all these kinds of diets to solve all these different types of problems, because we know what's inside food. And our minds and our hearts are equally important, maybe even more important, and we've never diagnosed that. So that's also the big thing for me, is creating the benefit business.
Yeah, I remember when I first talked to you, that was what intrigued me when you shared about like this technology. I'm like, yeah, that's what we really need. And also, one of your visions to transform the music industry, right, through your work. And so providing, again, supporting people with their health and well-being. I want to ask you, so you took it's part of the Western and Eastern music system,
Yes.
right? So I'm sure in your research, you probably have done a lot of work into both of those music system. Do you find, again, is there a difference between the Western, like in terms of the range you're talking about, right? Eastern, and do you find even, because music, I mean, sound music, has been around for many years. And I'm a sound healer myself, and, many traditions and tribes have been using sound as a healing modality. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, in terms of, because you've done so much research, right, more so in the technological side, do you find a difference in the Western side, Eastern side, and also perhaps some more older ancient music? Is there a difference?
Yeah, sure. Great question. So the way I look at it is with two things. The performance modality, right? So in the West, we have a lot of just audience listener, right? We have a lot of this entertainment style. It's getting more interactive these days and things like that. But in general, it's artist on stage, listener in the audience, right? What I would say with Eastern and, Indigenous, many other forms is they have different performance modes, right? Using the sound energy in a different way. For example, there's types of South Asian traditions where, like, for example, the tantric tradition, where it's not about how good it sounds, it's about that particular sound resonating with a certain part of the body, and it's about the therapeutic self-development process, which sometimes sounds weird when you're moving through a rough patch or this and that, but it's very much focused on the self-development. There's something called balagan that I did my dissertation on, which are teaching songs. So it's one question song and an answer song, question song, answer song, right? That's how the guru works with their students, right? They sing the philosophy discourse together. So I would say one of the main differences is the modes of performance. And then I would also say in relationship to the sound, the Western world is still very much in tertiary harmony, just major and minor scales. I mean, we've got jazz with modes and things like that. Some contemporary classical music is going atonal and things like that as well. But I think there are musical systems, such as the Arab maqam system, which is that is using quarter tones and has a very wide variety of different types of scales. The Indian raga system, where you get, because of the quarter tones, because of the different kinds of tuning and different kinds of scales, and especially in the raga, the emphasis, you get a very subtle timbres and movements that are quite powerful, in terms of well, I really have to go into physics of sound, so I won't go too in depth there, but I would say the actual spectrum of sound is different. But saying that, I don't see them as oppositional, right? In terms of this East-West divide. I see them as performance modes with different sonic palettes because of the different scales and instruments that they're using. And what I would love to see with this is that people develop their own mode of performance. Maybe they develop their own healing tradition or learn one and implement it maybe some way in their community, and they have a sound technology which enables them to create different scales and rhythms and colors, and feel for yourself what, maybe you want to create a new scale, you want to create a new timbre, you want to play with rhythms that you don't have in your current sound library. Because actually, despite the fact that we have all these beat libraries with tons and tons of beats, the rhythms are actually quite limited in terms of what is possible on the full rhythmic spectrum. So I see the difference, but at the same time, I think if we have a deeper understanding of what's going on and the right tools, we can create new genres. We can create new healing modalities. You know, we can create more living traditions. And I know, you know, they'll probably, you know, be different practitioners that like come up with a certain type of practice and get really good at that, and great. And I think that's quite powerful for it not being such an east-west divide anymore, but just a really healthy engagement, fuller engagement with sound and music.
Thank you for that. Yeah. You know, when you're sharing, I'm like thinking about all the possibilities in addition to, then it diverted me to like nature too, because nature has sound, right? And
Yeah.
we're so attracted to it naturally too. So it'd
Yeah.
be very interesting to also with your technology to see. I'm not sure if you've done any research around the area, like you know how large the spectrum is and all that. Just
Yeah.
it,
Not formally, but we definitely have had some interesting synchronicities and fun with this when we were building the rhythm software, right? And so we're going through all the simultaneous complex rhythms and rhythms on different numbers. And then when we're playing with it and we're like, hang on a second, play that again. We were in the mountains in Italy, right? So it's a natural area. We're like, play that rhythm again, stop. That's the frog. The frog is making the same rhythm as the rhythm we were experimenting with. And and it was really cool because we're saying all these rhythms that were in nature that like actually sound a little weird because maybe we're just so stuck in 4/4, like we can find them now. So we haven't formally figured that out, but we've been having a lot of fun with like interesting synchronicities with frog sounds and bird songs, saying like, hey, like that's the rhythm, or that's the timbre, it's a real timbre. We just don't have we don't have a bird flute yet, but
that's really cool.
I think there's a lot of potential for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I think well, I'm looking forward for, you know, as you continue to develop your technology. It's
Yeah.
really exciting. And the other thing that you mentioned about the voice too, you know,
Yeah.
I'm really curious about the voice because I noticed that my voice has changed too, and recently as well. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
curious, you were talking about music, and how does that correlate? If you could explain, you know, to
Yeah.
the audience.
So yes, so we analyze sound, yeah, and your voice is sound. And everybody's voice is constantly changing. And your voice is unique to you. This vocal technology has been around for a while, and there's actually some banks and different companies that your user identity, you know, is confirmed through your voice because your voice is completely unique to you. Your voice has all your psycho-emotional indicators in it, and it's unique to your pitch, and your complete timbre spectrum is unique to you, and it will change throughout the day, change throughout your life depending on what you're going through. um, that's the voice. That's why it's such a great indicator of it. That's how we personalize, because that's the most personalized thing that is yours. I call it your unique soul signature.
Wow.
um I yeah. So, and then we use the sound technology to analyze that and personalize
Oh,
music to you.
awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really exciting. Uh, so, what can you share also those who are listening? Because you know, what are the benefits they would get? Let's say if they were to take on, you know, and personalize, just so that they get an idea. You know, what's the benefit, right?
Sure. um so we work with support and enhancement models. So one side is support, such as, you know, supporting mental health, like stress and anxiety, and we hope to also be able to create personalized programs for other types of conditions. And the other part is enhancement. So let's say you don't have any big particular issue, but you just want to find your baseline and rise above it, right? That's the enhancement side. So where's your current baseline? Because everyone has ups and down. Some days you're better than others. This is normal human stuff. But what's that baseline? And then raising the baseline. So you actually raise your potential. So that's more of a brain development program using music in the brain. The benefits, I mean, what I would like to see in the future is that this technology can work with, specialists in different conditions to address more specifically support for that specific condition, right? So that can be a physical illness that we, pump in the right types of sounds, music, and well-being, recovery activities, but also, I think in general, it's a way for you to get to know you a little better. Like really, what does your music say about you? It says a lot about you, right? And we don't even realize, so I mean, it can, at this stage, we're just creating initial programs and pilots to get everything up and running because it's quite a complex software, but it could be something that just powers a streaming, a program, because for people that just want to know, what does that say about me, and what does that say about my friends? What does that say about us? What does the music we listen to say about us? So you can make it as casual, or in depth to a specific condition as you want. The point is that we just want to create the technology, and we just want to give you the musical nutrition information so that, other companies and people can build on this.
Yeah, I love it. You're talking about in my mind, I was really thinking, oh, I want to know what my voice is telling about me. I want to know,
Yep.
what I listen to, what's it telling about me. And it's
Yeah.
so interesting, to get to know myself in that process. And the other thing that spun off was when you're sharing about the special, and I mean, the areas of focus for support, I think special needs, especially children, I think your work will be really beneficial, in supporting them too. That just came to my mind because we were just watching TV, and I had a lot of friends quite a few who, have kids who are in autism spectrum. So this just kind of jumped in just now. I said, oh my God, this technology will support, those children.
Absolutely.
Amazing. So if someone wants to know more about your work and get connected with you and get in touch with you, how can they do that? If you just share.
So you can go to our website, nadadigital.com. And in nadadigital.com, you can sign up to our newsletter, and there's also a contact, page there as well. So definitely get in touch. Like I said, it's early days because we're launching our first program in October. Anyone that works in technology knows you got to do iteration after iteration after testing. But it's all happening, despite COVID and all our virtual working madness. It's all happening. So we'll be launching in October, but please, go to nadadigital.com and, sign up to our newsletter, and we'll keep you posted on everything.
Yeah, I'm excited. So I know we'll be in touch. You are working on cutting edge technology. And again, music does heal the soul. It does. And I myself has seen it. I've seen it in the work that I do, and just for myself too, just music, we all listen to music. It just changes, how we feel, right? It's that powerful. And with your technology, it will give us so much more insight to so many more things. So that's very exciting times. And I will continue to support your work. I'm excited.
Thank you, Rain. Thank you for hosting this, wonderful interview. It's great to be able to share and to have enthusiasm over positive impact. I guess in the business world, people want to talk about money and return of investment and applications and market, and I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to do that. I want to create a valued service, and I want to create something very professional. But this is my passion. Talking about what it can do, people that are excited about what music can do, because we haven't had that. We live in a very productized, commercialized world. And actually that is exactly what has not served the music industry understanding music. And that is the very mentality that has kind of put down the arts, because it's you value the inner world, you value the inner person rather than the, just the physical. But it is profoundly powerful. And with with what we do, the way that I've come to see mental health is that music does move us. Music, you can create specialized programs for anxiety and depression and things like that, but everyone needs a boost. Everyone's mood spectrum says something about where they just need a little bit more, and where they really resonate and feel good. And I actually think that if we just destigmatize, maybe the word mental health isn't a great word, but if we all just value our inner worlds and the developing of our inner worlds, and I hope that this technology can just draw a little bit more attention to that, to draw a little more attention to the inner with a really powerful tool. I think that's how we change the world, right?
I totally agree with you. We can only change ourselves, right? And that's the key. We will, we talked a little bit about my other organization. What I always share is, to create world peace, we start with ourselves, right? Inner peace. And this is one way. It's through music. Your technology is going to provide that, to get to know myself. Where is that gap? How can I close that gap, and to boost, how I feel, what my mood is. And I do feel when we all feel better, we will do better, right?
Exactly.
Right? We will do better, and then we will create a better world that way.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's it. Changing the world from the inside out, right?
Yeah. So thank you. Just thank you so much for spending your time. I got to learn a lot more today, in what you're working on. And I really wish you all the best. Your work is amazing. It's much needed. So much needed in the world. Thank you for being on the Reinhardt Wisdom Show.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. Okay, have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye.